I know you guys see this too. That event invite is curious. I know, we're not supposed to be reading into event invites for WWDC, but it's been a day at this point. I know that you've done it, so don't pretend that you haven't. Tell me that this doesn't look like it's related to, in some way, the VR headset. It's giving lenses. It's giving the reflection off of a curved visor a la the infamous Ian Zelbo render that I know you've all seen. You can't tell me that you don't see the similarities there. Now, I understand that these 6 rainbow arches are reminiscent of the arches at Apple Park. I get that that's the symbolism, but don't try to tell me that there's nothing more going on there because I won't believe you. Now, this being WWDC, there's no tagline that we normally see with events for us to also wildly speculate about. In fact, if you go to Apple's website, developer.apple.com, basically all you see is WWDC 23, June 5th through 9th. Mark your calendars for an exhilarating week of technology and community. Be among the first to learn about Apple's platforms, technologies, and tools, and engage with Apple experts and other developers. Yeah, that is just about the most vague thing that you could possibly say. There is no information there. They didn't even use the word product because, of course, this being WWDC, there's no guarantees of actual hardware announcements. But that doesn't mean that that's not what we're expecting. And this is part of why I think this year's WWDC might just be one of the best in recent memory. And that's because we have basically a laundry list of products that are within some reasonable degree of expectation possible. And that's unusual because usually WWDC tends to be fairly quiet. Every once in a while, you'll get a big blockbuster like the 2019 Mac Pro or the Apple Silicon transition, or even last year was pretty good with the M2 chip and the new MacBook Pro and MacBook Air. Well, as it turns out this year, we might be running that all back again. A whole bunch of rumors have been coming out lately about the 15-inch MacBook Air, and if you're a fan of my podcast Dark Mode, which you should be, then you would know about CCRP. Credibility, corroboration, repetition, oops, I hit it again, proximity. This is my rule for determining the validity of leaks. So how do you use it? Well, let's do the 15-inch MacBook Air as an example. Credibility. Where does the information come from? Well, in this case, we've heard from Mark Gurman, Ross Young, and Ming-Chi Kuo. All very established, all have reliable track records. So there you go, that's C. The next C, corroboration. Again, we've heard a bunch of different sources saying the same thing, and it's not just those 3. For example, in February, Apple filed a Bluetooth 5.3 listing for a new Mac running device. This is further corroboration of the machine's existence, so boom, that's the second C. Now, repetition. We start hearing this very, very frequently from multiple different sources. And then finally, proximity. We start hearing about these things closer together and more frequently, and that tells us that it's coming in a shorter amount of time. So that's how you use CCRP, and the CCRP on the 15-inch MacBook Air is pretty solid. So I would put that at a high probability of happening this year. Now, unfortunately, CCRP isn't able to tell us what chip that machine will run, as there have been conflicting reports, aka not ones that corroborate each other, saying that it could be M2 or it could be M3. So we can't really get a CCRP answer on that just yet. Another one that CCRP is slightly on the fence about is the Mac Pro. This is something that we've been expecting for a while. We know that one is coming because when Apple announced the M1 Ultra Mac Studio, they explicitly told us that the Mac Pro is coming.
With just one more product to go, Mac Pro. But that is for another day.
In terms of correlation, corroboration, that's as high as you can get. But the repetition and the proximity at which we have been hearing these rumors isn't really panning out. So at this point, I'm on the fence about a Mac Pro. I don't think that that's something that we could see at WWDC this year, but who knows? The way that these things work, Apple tends to announce earlier and release later. A lot of the leaks come from hardware, so it's possible that we just haven't gotten the leaks yet. But now we get to the big daddy, the main event, the headset. And this is what I think Apple is referencing with the teaser image that they released for WWDC 2023. Now, CCRP on this is very strong. We've heard a lot about this for years now, and the repetition and proximity is absolutely indicating that this is an imminent thing. Apple has passed the point of no return, so this thing is coming. The question is when and if it's gonna suck. So just a couple of days ago, a report by the New York Times came out which talked about some staff at Apple that are concerned about the readiness of this headset. According to 8 current and former Apple employees, enthusiasm has given way to skepticism in regards to the AR/VR headset. Now that does give me some cause for concern because I think a lot of us have assumed that when Apple does do a headset, they're gonna do it right. They're kind of famous for doing things right, but not first. You look at the Apple Watch, the iPad, the iPhone, the laptop, everything. That's what they do. But I think some people might argue that Apple has gotten a little lost in the sauce lately, and it's possible that this might not be as fully baked as we're hoping. So let's run through what we're expecting from this machine. Apple is apparently working on a device that features mixed reality capabilities with 4K micro OLED displays, eye and gesture tracking, an external mounted battery pack. We've heard that it could run on an M series chip, have prescription lens options, of course, and have a new operating system, which I imagine is going to be very heavily influenced by iOS and macOS. It's probably just going to be a little fork of that because they're all kind of converging these days anyway. That's a long list, and it sounds very impressive. 4K displays per eye, having eye and gesture tracking. It's going to be covered in cameras and LiDAR sensors. It sounds like a lot, but the concern is whether it's actually good enough and whether it has the features that it needs. Now, I don't want to throw too much water on the fire here because, of course, we're a month and a half out from WWDC, and that is in itself probably at least 6 months out from launch. So as is typical with Apple, they can sometimes make a perhaps hasty announcement. The iPhone, the Apple Watch, the Mac Pro, AirPower, all of these were devices that were announced before they were ready. And most of those went really well, but some of them, AirPower, didn't. And I think the concern here is that perhaps we're leaning more towards an AirPower side and less towards an iPhone side. And goodness me, what an exciting event to be looking forward to. We don't know if it's going to be a complete failure or reinvent the wheel. That's exciting. Personally, I'm hoping that Apple does succeed. I think that they have the potential to really make mixed reality a thing. Although you have to imagine at this point they've spent billions of dollars, so probably won't just completely fail. So this event is shaping up to be a blockbuster with the potential for a Mac Pro, a MacBook Air, the M3 chip could be going on, this mixed reality headset. Those are a lot of really big ticket items. I don't personally think that we're going to see all of those things. That would be a bit packed, but it's very unlikely we're going to get a spring event. So if any of those things are coming out before this fall, it's going to be at DubDub. So buckle up because this should be a pretty wild ride. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know what your thoughts on WWDC are, and also let me know what you think about the teaser image because I think I'm right and I know that you're thinking what I'm thinking too. So admit it. Put it in the comments below because I know you're already thinking it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you again real soon.